Hey everybody, welcome back. This is episode 5 of Fat Guy Sports Talk. As always, I'm Aaron.
I'm TJ.
I'm Tyler.
We thank you for joining us again today. We're going to continue the draft coverage like we've been doing, but there's been some big news in the sports world as the nation and the world starts to open back up. So we're going to just touch on what's been happening recently. Tyler, why don't you start us off with some exciting news in the world of basketball?
Yep, big news, big news. Basketball's back, guys. It has been approved by the Players Association and the entire NBA Board of Appeals that with the COVID-19 pandemic, they are able to bring back everyone in a type of bubble scenario, I suppose.
Not everyone.
Well, not everyone, but they are coming back with 22 teams that they're going to try and start the league on July 31st, as long as everything pans out. With the NBA Finals wrapping up, it looks like no later than October 12th. What they're going to be doing is they're going to do, it looks like 8 regular season games. After that, that's just for seeding. And then the teams of 8 through the bottom are going to have playoffs for the last 2 seeds in each conference. Looks like there's going to be 9 Eastern Conference Finals teams and 13 Western Conference Finals, which goes to show the East really needs to step it up. Like, I don't know if we have like a lack of basketball hoops over here. We've really got to do something. Luckily, Bucks are top, so I'm happy. Unfortunately, your Bulls are not. So
they'll wind up getting the 7th pick in the draft like they fucking always do anyways. So I'm excited
word
because
on this. With that being brought up, they also have word saying that the NBA draft for next year will be coming on August 25th is the draft lottery. The NBA draft will be held on October 15th. And then next year's regular season looks like it's going to begin on December 1st.
Yeah, off season is going to be so short, and I don't know if that's also going to mean the regular season is going to be shortened a little too.
They're pushing it to start in December, which I think is smarter. Honestly.
It's smarter. It might shorten the season unless they're going to plan on playing a lot more back-to-backs, which I don't know if the Players Association is going to like that. But I'm just happy that there's news that basketball's back. Something to talk about.
It's not too far off either. Only, what is it, just shy of 2 months?
Yeah. Well, we're a week into June now.
Yeah.
When we record this. But along with basketball being back, hockey is also making moves. To any hockey fans out there, they have the NHLPA and the league have agreed on the 2014 playoff format with the first 5-game round for teams to get into a full 16-team playoff. That should be around the same time as the NBA comes back too. They're working on having it in 2 hub cities. There's 10 locations that they're talking about right now. But their phase 2 of their plan is set to open on Monday, June 8th. So teams can start to return to facilities too. So big news, hockey and basketball both set to come back here soon.
And as far as baseball, not much has really gone on. The Major League Baseball, I guess, owners league, or whatever, they just projected a 114-game season, and there's no counter proposal going on right now. They have been discussing about a 50-game season, but there's really no headway in that right now.
The biggest thing with that is that the players want their salaries. And with the shortened season, they're going to get a prorated salary, and they don't want that. They want their full salaries. So We might not see baseball this year, which would be the first time since 1994.
There's a lot of them saying that they will not play unless they can play for the full salary. Before I had to stop driving into work, I was listening to some different things out there, and I know Clayton Kershaw was one saying that he would play, but there's other ones I believe. So a lot of the lower level players don't want to lose any salary at all,
right?
Just because they don't compare to the Kershaws of the world. So
yeah, and the Bryce Harpers.
Exactly, Bryce Harper. There you go. I say that's they're right to. Honestly, I mean, they're out there risking their bodies just as much as they are.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I don't think a shortened season, yeah, like a longer season, you're going to have more wear and tear on your body, but there's no less risk in a shorter season of getting injured. So,
Yeah, that's true.
right.
And if it does come back, it's most likely going to be at spring training locations too. Um, all these games are going to be with minimal to no fans too, whichever
Oh yeah.
league we're talking about. So,
Oh yeah. I know the NBA is in talks right now about piping in 2K audience noise for the playoffs, which they should throw the 2K announcers in there too, because I would love to hear about OKC Arena and their practice
their
arena being
practice
a
facility
skating arena.
is a converted roller rink. Sorry, that's an inside joke between us. So,
But
I
did
do not
hear?
want to hear piped in audience noise on a
No,
basketball game.
I
Come
right. No,
I
on.
a
thought
lot
I
of them
had
are
heard.
saying do silence so we can actually get a better perspective of what goes on in the court.
That
I
would be
know
cool. I would like that.
football's
Like,
talking about
Yeah,
that, having the players mic'd up.
they
I think
should.
that'd be awesome.
I thought I had
Like,
heard
I would
that they were
love to
going to
hear people
allow.
just start swearing when they miss shots and stuff.
I thought I had heard that they were going to allow players' families to be there just to give a
Probably.
little bit of crowd.
Oh, for the NBA, yeah, I think
I
As
mean,
so.
long as they don't do what WWE is doing right now and just bringing in their minor league talent to fill in crowd, it's the dumbest thing ever. For any wrestling fans out there, I think you can agree with me. But
from
yeah,
what I've heard, I haven't watched it, but from what I've heard, the WWE matches are ridiculous. Like, you can hear them
yeah,
like calling out their moves and everything, and it's just like, oof.
I will say WrestleMania this year. That's one thing I love is professional wrestling. WrestleMania this year was fairly well. It was nice. It got split into 2 nights instead of having an 8-hour long marathon. But yeah, having no fans there, it was definitely weird. So
That's that makes the whole thing is like the people
yeah,
talking to the crowd and the response is it's not good otherwise. I
yeah.
don't think so.
It's you need to have the crowd there. I mean, without the crowd, Ron Artest would not be as famous as he is.
All right.
Oh, that's
All right.
Speaking of the sports coming back, we also have sports like soccer has many of their leagues back. I know Bundesliga 1 and 2 is out there. Portuguese Liga is out. A couple other ones. They are coming back. You got the KBO, like I mentioned before, Korean Baseball Organization. UFC's been back. Golf's definitely been back.
NASCAR.
NASCAR's been back.
ours have been back.
But yeah, so there's lots of sports coming back. So it is huge news for us sports fans. We can stop twiddling our thumbs and watching old games that we cried over many times.
That's been the
Packers
best thing.
playoffs.
NBC Sports Network has been showing Packers playoff losses like consistently, and I love it.
It's kind of fun to watch.
That's because the Packers have more playoff losses this decade than the Bears have playoff appearances in the last
They
3
do.
decades.
I know. Yeah.
I'm not getting into it. My Raiders are trash. So
Speaking of which, there was a guy in a Michael Crabtree Raiders jersey on Price is Right yesterday, and that was the most I think anybody's accomplished in a Raiders jersey in like the past 20 years. He made it all the way to the showcase.
You got it at Pawn America, I guarantee you. It's the only place you're finding those. Walmart clearance aisle.
All right, before TJ
I just
gets,
can't believe the Bears fan just tried to smash me. Like, come on.
And it worked.
All right. Well, since we're on the topic of football, let's hop into it. TJ, why don't you lead us off today? We're going to discuss the NFC West draft.
So we're going to start with the San Francisco 49ers as they did win the division last year. There's some key losses. They only really had 4. Emmanuel Sanders, Garrett Selleck, Levine Tuliolo, and DeForest Buckner left, traded. But they only had 4 real losses on that team, so they're still pretty strong. Eric Armstead re-signed. They brought in Travis Benjamin for some depth at wide receiver. He's kind of a burner. Ben Garland was re-signed. Jimmy Ward was re-signed, and they brought in Trent Williams via trade to play left tackle with the retirement of Joe Staley. So that's a real big move for them, as they did bring in another elite tackle to play. And I honestly think at this stage in his career, if it's the same Trent Williams we saw, I think he's an upgrade over what Joe Staley was for him in the later stages of the career. As far as their draft, I'm kind of hit or miss on it. I wasn't overly impressed. Javon Kinlaw, I do love out of South Carolina. He was the 14th pick in the first round. 25th pick in the first round was Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. He's a wide receiver. I don't think he's that outstanding, but he's going to have an opportunity to succeed. Then they didn't pick again until the 5th round. So 7th pick in the 5th round, Colton McKivitz, a tackle out of West Virginia. 11th pick in the 6th round, 11th pick in the 6th round, Charlie Werner, tight end out of Georgia. And then 3rd pick in the 7th round, Juwan Jennings, wide receiver out of Tennessee. None of these picks really wowed me outside of Javon Kinlaw. I know a lot of people do like the wide receiver in the first round. I'm not really that sold on him. He's not – I don't know. I compare him more to I agree with NFL.com's comparison on him, which is he reminds me of Robert Woods. But I don't know. I'm not overly sold on the draft.
Yeah, with the Niners here, honestly, they didn't have a lot of spots to fill, like you said. They didn't lose a ton. The Kinlaw pick, I do like him, but I do also agree with NFL saying he is boom or bust. He's not a guarantee. So, but it's a good pick. I do like him. He's big. He's a big boy. 6'5", 325. So, I mean, he has the talent there. I do disagree with you with Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, I think is it?
Brandon Ayuk.
Ayuk. That's right. I made fun of Goofy during the draft. Okay. Robert Woods is a great comparison for him. Route running, not crazy, fast, high jumping, no acrobatic, nothing like that. You're not looking at Calvin Johnson coming out of college. What you are looking at is someone who's going to fill in a solid number 2 spot and be a solid someone in the medium range inside 10 yards for you.
And that's one thing the Niners needed. They needed some better receiving help. I think Ayuk fills that. Denzel Mims was still on the board there, if I'm remembering correctly. I think that would have been a better pick. But for filling in for Emmanuel Sanders, who they lost, I think that's a great pick. The boomer bust situation with Javon Kinlaw, though, that defensive line is already scary. So if it's a boom, that it gets 10 times scarier. If it's a bust, they're still one of the best defensive lines. So
true, I'll agree.
I mean, keep in mind, one of the key parts of their defensive line was DeForest Buckner. So right. Kinlaw's not. I mean, if Kinlaw can do what Buckner is doing at just that level, they're still going to be scary. If he's better, which I think he is, you're right. They're going to be terrifying.
As for the rest of their draft, though, nothing too out there. But this is already a great team. They didn't really need to fill too many holes. They're probably going to compete to win this division again next year.
They just need a quarterback that's not going to fail in the end.
Essentially.
I'm throwing that one up there. I mean, it's Mahomes. He scores a ton. He always comes back. But Garoppolo should have had that game. Their defense is terrifyingly good. Their offense was not bad either. They played that one wrong, and Garoppolo did not play well.
No.
I also kind of think that Mostert wasn't as good as he was in those playoff games, and that kind of hurt him a little bit too.
True.
Going into the Seattle Seahawks, which they finished second in the division, they lost a lot. C.J. Proces, Marshawn Lynch, Jerron Brown, Josh Gordon, Ed Dixon, George Fant, Justin Britt, Jermaine Ifedi, Al Woods, Ezekiel Ansah, Quentin Jefferson, Michael Kendricks, Jadeveon Clowney, and Tedrick Thompson. And when you read those names off, a lot of those are super recognizable names. Yeah, Marshawn Lynch didn't do a lot of production, but he was scoring touchdowns in the playoffs for him, if I recall. Josh Gordon, big name, hasn't done much, though. Maybe he'll get a career now that what is it? They can't be suspended now for marijuana?
He is suspended indefinitely, but with the new changes to the NFLPA, with the marijuana charges not being a deal anymore, he could come back. I've heard talks of that.
At this point, the dude's been out of the NFL for 5 years, 5-6 years, really.
But you saw the one game he did play, basically the couple of games he played in, he showed flashes of himself.
But I mean, he's going to get a 1-year deal somewhere, but I don't think he's going to be outstanding.
He'll bounce around like Brandon Marshall is right now and other players like that who have shown talent after their careers have started fading.
I mean, if he does outstanding with the team, he'll get a long-term deal with them, or he'll milk it in free agency. If he's smart, he'll stay with the team. Otherwise, he's going to be bouncing around from team to team.
He's his own worst enemy. That's his
Yes.
thing. You know, it's not the talent's there. It's just he's got to get it in the game.
It's all up here.
No, they did gain a lot in free agency, but not as big of names as what they've lost. Brought in Philip Dorsett to play wide receiver. Quentin Dunbar was acquired in a trade with the Redskins. B.J. Finney signed. He's an offensive lineman. Jacob Hollister signed. They put a second-round tender on him, and he hasn't been grabbed up. Carlos Hyde signed up. Bruce Irvin is expected to come back. Mikey Apati agreed to terms. He's solid. Cedric Ogbui, tackle, signed. Greg Olson came over. You'll recognize that name. Jerron Reed came in, and I think he's outstanding. He re-signed. And then Geno Smith signed a one-year deal to play backup. None of that's, I think, going to make any part of their team outstanding except for maybe Greg Olson, but they don't really use tight ends the way Greg Olson is used to being used.
I honestly didn't know Geno Smith still played football.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, but yeah, I don't think they really. I'm not a big fan of the tight end position that they did. So I don't know. What do you think, Tyler?
Seahawks. I mean, Greg Olson. It's why. It's just as fun as them bringing in Jimmy Graham right for his patella injury. It's another tight end that you might have some talent out of.
I mean, Greg Olson's still solid. It's just that
he's old.
They don't use tight ends the way that Greg Olson and them, have been used. So, but kind of going into their draft here, 27th pick in the first round, they grabbed linebacker Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech. I love this guy. 16th pick in the second round, they grabbed Darrell Taylor, edge rusher out of Tennessee. 5th pick in the third round, they grabbed Damian Lewis, guard out of LSU. I think he's going to be outstanding. 27th pick in the fourth round, they grabbed Colby Parkinson out of Stanford. He's a tight end. 38th pick in the fourth round, they grabbed running back DJ Dallas out of Miami, Florida. Second pick in the fifth round, Alton Robinson, edge rusher out of Syracuse. I actually really like him. He has potential. We'll see if it gets used. 35th pick in the sixth round, Freddie Swain, wide receiver out of Florida. I like him. And 37th pick in the seventh round, Stephen Sullivan, tight end out of LSU.
I mean, the draft, not bad. They did try to fill some of their spots they needed. The big one they needed to fill was D-end. And if they're going to try and move Jordan Brooks down to D-end, he'll be a solid fit. They did do a little reach for him, getting him in the first round. He was looking to go mid-second, but solid there. And then you have Darrell Taylor right after that. So you have two choices they can go right there to try and fill that D-end spot. But that is one spot they definitely needed. Going Freddie Swain from Florida, wide receiver.
I think he's there to compete for a return job, which I don't get because
They need wide receivers,
right? They need receivers.
I like him.
But
I like.
He's not bad, but he's nothing great. They could have got receivers anywhere earlier. I mean,
this was
looking at the Colby Parkinson,
class.
I would have gone wide receiver right there in the fourth round instead of waiting until the sixth.
They had a lot of holes to fill, though. I think grabbing Damian Lewis in the third, though, that's going to help fill the holes that Jermaine Ifedi left on that line.
I think
Russell Wilson.
Ifedi,
yeah.
personally.
Russell Wilson's going to need some protection there. The rest of this, Colby Parkinson.
That's a shaky pick.
Yeah, he makes tough catches, but he's not going to win too many 50-50 balls. That's the thing.
Right. It's an okay draft. It's nothing stands out as great. It's all right.
I don't think Jordan Brooks is bad, but they reached. They could have got him way later.
They could have got him where they got Darrell Taylor.
I think they were a little bit worried because they really did want to get another linebacker in there with the departure of Kendricks. So I get it. I'm not sold on him being an elite talent, but I think he's going to be very good. All right, now for the lawsuit, you can just edit that part out. Now getting into the – I'm just going to start. Stop doing shit. You ready?
Yeah.
Want me to do a fucking countdown so you know? Jesus. This should be on like a blooper reel.
Yeah.
Like, just make like a blooper reel of the week. Just the one show where TJ was just snorting fucking lines of cocaine, and then the one where Tyler and I were just hitting our dabs. Just fucking whatever. Let's just make a blooper episode. All right, so getting into the Los Angeles Rams, they did have a couple of losses here. My favorite kicker for fantasy football, Greg Zuerlein, is no longer with the Los Angeles Rams.
Greg
That hurts
Leg.
me so much. I would draft him every year if I could, because the guy is like monstrous. Every other year, he's fantastic. They ended up losing Blake Bortles as a backup quarterback. Brandon Cooks went to the Texans. Dante Fowler Jr. is a huge loss at defense, going to the Falcons. Corey Littleton going to the Raiders. Clay Matthews, okay. Nickel Roby Coleman to the Eagles. Eric Weddle retired. As far as their losses, Brandon Cooks is notable. He wasn't really the Brandon Cooks people expected in the Rams. But, I mean, that dude just puts up 1,000-yard season after 1,000-yard season no matter where he plays or who he plays with. So, yeah, last season was a down year for him, but he's still an outstanding wide receiver, and it does give the Texans another weapon to work with down there, which is good because they lost DeAndre Hopkins, which we're going to talk about soon. Dante Fowler Jr., go ahead.
Didn't they lose Todd Gurley too?
Yeah, they did lose Todd Gurley. I don't know why that's not on my list. Yeah, they lost Todd Gurley to the Falcons, which we talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we did the NFC South. That's a huge – I think it's a huge loss for him, but they weren't using him correctly. I don't know why.
Well, they used him correctly until it mattered.
Yeah.
And then they stopped.
Not even, because, I mean, if you look at – part of their issue last year as an offense was that they weren't doing the motions that they were running before. They had a lot of confusion in their offense. They weren't doing that. The year before, when Jared Goff had that monstrous season, it was because they were feeding the ball to Gurley all the time, and it was just leaving these receivers in one-on-one coverage. They stopped feeding the ball to Gurley, and Goff struggled again. Goff is not an elite quarterback. I've been saying that since he got drafted. I had to bite my tongue that year he had that outstanding year, but he reproved it again. And I don't think he's bad. I don't. I think he could be a starter on the Rams for a very long time, but he's not an elite quarterback. Not yet. Maybe the success that he gets, if they can get him back into having some success, gives him that confidence like it did Alex Smith. Alex Smith was terrible. He had a good season. He got the coaching that he needed. He got his confidence, and he's been outstanding since then. I mean, besides a broken leg. But the other one I want to mention, little small issue. But, I mean, ESPN does have a very good article about his recovery. You'll have to dig it up, but it's out there. I encourage you to go read it. It kind of shows it from the family's perspective. Dante Fowler Jr. is a massive loss. That guy is a nightmare on the edge. And him being paired with Aaron Donald is just crazy. So they're going to have to find a way to replace that. Corey Littleton is a very solid linebacker. I don't think he's necessarily starting material on every team in the league, but he is definitely very good depth on any team in the league. Clay Matthews, I've never been high on. I know here in Wisconsin, people loved him. Outside of Tyler, you're one of the few Packer fans that agree with me on him.
One season.
I've never liked him.
One season where it caught him off guard at, hey, Packers have someone.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
His problem is he never wrapped up to tackle. He always led with his shoulder, overextends, took poor lines. He was a liability in the run game. And, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say, if he was playing well, Adrian Peterson wasn't going to run for 296 yards.
Kaepernick would not have ran
for 296 yards had
if he would have been able to
played better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all those games, you guys should have won.
The Packers would have won the Super Bowl.
All those games you guys should have won. Those few years when Clay Matthews was in was because he played terrible. Adrian Peterson's record-setting game, that was because Clay Matthews was terrible.
His almost record-setting game
Shut
also.
Up. I'm calling it a record-setting game. Oh, both of them. Both of those games where he ran over 200 yards were because of Clay Matthews. They kept running the ball to his side of the field, and he wasn't tackling. Now, obviously, that's not just on Clay Matthews because you have a defensive line. You have a secondary to help. But when your linebacker isn't wrapping up, that's a problem. And all he can do is pass rush, and he has one move. He's not outstanding anymore. I do think Roby Coleman is a underrated loss for them. Obviously, Eric Weddle, I don't think he's been the same since he's left the Chargers, even on the Ravens. And then, of course, Greg Zuerlein going to the Cowboys is a pretty substantial loss as well. As to what they gained, Austin Blythe, offensive lineman, agreed to a 1-year deal. He's a good depth player. Michael Brockers agreed to stay with the Rams after going to the Ravens fell through. So that's a significant signing for them. They brought in Leonard Floyd, who has always been more potential than production. Sean Robinson's signing, I think, is a really good underrated signing for them. That's really going to help Aaron Donald out. And then they brought in Andrew Whitworth, kind of the veteran right tackle. I don't know what they're going to do with him, if they're going to keep him at right or move him to left. But he's a very good addition for them as well. Going into the draft, first round pick, 20th overall in the second round, Cam Akers. I think that's a fantastic pickup to replace Todd Gurley. I don't think he's as good. And he's a completely different style of runner, in my opinion. But I think based off of what you saw out of the Rams offense last year, they're going to be leaning towards that kind of style of running from now on. So I do like the pick. 25th pick in the second round, Van Jefferson out of Florida. I like him a lot. 20th pick in the third round, Terrell Lewis, edge rusher out of Alabama. Boomer bust, but he's a third round pick, so you can afford to gamble there. 40th pick in the third round, Terrell Burgess, safety out of Utah. 30th pick in the fourth round, Bryson Hopkins, tight end out of Purdue. 20th pick in the sixth round, Jordan Fuller, safety out of Ohio State. 20th pick in the seventh round, Clay Johnston, linebacker out of Baylor. 34th pick in the seventh round, Sam Sloman, kicker out of Miami, Ohio. 36th pick in the seventh round, Tremaine Ankrum, guard out of Clemson, who I actually really like. What do you think, Tyler?
Honestly, it looks like they tried to attack their needs with the draft. They did try to fill some spot. Cam Akers, I do love. I've actually been watching a little bit of highlights on him right now. And if you have a good offensive line in front of him, he has great hesitation. If you don't have an offensive line, he's fucked. That's, I mean, if you can't do the offensive line, if they can't really get in there, he's going to have to be on the outside catching, receiving, which he can do also.
Which I think is something that they're going to utilize him a lot in,
I'll
because he's
say
better than Gurley at
that, it was surprising on how far he dropped, and I think this is actually quite a diamond in the rough pick here. After that, Van Jefferson, really good pick, solid pick there, help out the offense there. And just going on, like I said, it's a solid draft. After the third round, nothing crazy, but they did try to fill spots where they needed.
Yep, and I think they did get some depth. I mean, I'm not overly wowed by a lot of their picks, but a big part of that is, I mean, they're just going to be depth players for the most part anyways, and if they think they can fill in at that point, then, I'm going to trust the team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago to, develop some talent, so.
Yeah,
but they spent a lot of money to try to get to that Super Bowl.
They did, yeah. And I mean, more power to them. They addressed their needs, but they did it on an unproven quarterback too, which a lot of people don't give them credit for. Jared Goff was not predicted to be that good coming into that year. People thought he was going to flame out just like Josh Rosen, and his second year he came in and he did outstanding. So I give Goff that credit, but I don't think he's consistent enough to be. Right now, he reminds me of Eli Manning, a guy that can be outstanding, but also is super inconsistent. So,
yeah, this team's definitely on, if you ask me, on kind of a downfall, ever since that horrific performance in the Super Bowl.
And that's a hard division, too.
Yeah, very hard. The Cardinals are going to be a lot better than they were last year, so don't be surprised if the Rams finish last. I do like their pick of Bryson Hopkins. I think he was one of the better tight ends in this draft. He's got big hands. His drops are a little bit of a concern, but I think
my problem again, and I always bring this up because you love the tight ends. Every time we talk about a team where they draft a tight end, I like that pick. And you are right. He is one of the better tight ends. It's just that this is a very weak tight end class. And,
it is.
You are right. He is one of the better tight ends, but I think he projects at best to a second or third string tight end, but one that will last a while as depth. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Tremaine Antrim. I think that is a steal. He was ranked 11th at his position, and to get him in the 7th round like that, I think he's going to be, he played for Clemson, national
Yeah,
championship, perennial playoff
I
contender.
agree with that pick.
Yeah,
Like that's
great pick
I
there.
think he could be, especially because he's a 7th round. He's going to get a little bit more chance,
Mhm.
and I think he's going to be outstanding. All right, and kind of getting into the Cardinals draft here, or the Cardinals offseason here. They did lose David Johnson. I've never been big on David Johnson. Tyler, you and I have had this conversation plenty of times, always around fantasy season, because he's always one of those people everyone wants to get, and I avoid him like the plague.
I got him once. Number 1 overall pick.
I laughed at you that
Injured
year.
first game.
I laughed at you that
I remember
year.
that. That was great.
I told you, you were like, I'm going to grab David Johnson. And I said, that is a stupid idea. Do not do it. And you said, I'm going to do it. I can't pass it up. And you did it, and you got injured, and I laughed in your face.
I was a
Thank
stupid
you.
child, but I was like 27. So I was just stupid.
I mean, we've all made bad fantasy picks, but like the one thing I will never do is you'll never see me go after, and this is maybe some fantasy advice for anybody that wants to play, because I seem to do well in my running back position, is I never go after any injury prone running back or that has that style. And, Christian McCaffrey, for all his credit, he stayed healthy. I didn't think he'd be able to, but he's another guy I won't touch. It's just too much risk associated with his body type and the way they run that, like Jamal Charles, I would never touch Jamal Charles in drafts. I learned my lesson the first year. I think was one of the first years I played was right after Priest Holmes, and I learned my lesson with Priest Holmes. So it's not happening.
I learned mine with LaShawn McCoy.
Oof. See, we all learn our lessons with injury-prone running backs.
Supposed, I'm going to be an awesome Trent Richardson.
I fell for that one, though. You were there. I drafted Trent Richardson.
If somehow these videos get out there and Trent Richardson sees this, I will find you.
I drafted you
and
in the
I'll
first
probably
round.
get my ass kicked by you, but I'm going to try.
I drafted Trent Brown in the 6th round.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I drafted Trent Brown in the 6th round, but
first round, number 3 overall, rookie year.
Why? I got him in the 6th round that year, bro. We were in that draft together, and I remember because I think I traded for him.
Sorry, not his first year, not his rookie year, his second year after he proved himself his rookie year.
Okay, I got him in the 6th round the rookie year.
At least you guys have never drafted a player who retires 4 hours after you drafted him.
Who was it?
Thank you, Andrew Luck.
I care about my body more.
That's hilarious.
Literally 4 hours after I picked him.
I don't
Coming
like
from
taking.
sports.
I would rather have
less. Body and all, but
I would rather have less points per game than draft somebody that that's risking getting injured. So I wouldn't have drafted Luck either. But he would have been one of those guys I would have grabbed if I saw in free agency if he was available. Speaking of which, Tyler, I want to play fantasy again this year because I didn't play last year.
Well,
come on, I got a spot open in my league, man.
We got to do this. We should start our own league and get some people.
Aaron's my commissioner.
Yeah,
we have a spot
we should
in our
start
league.
a Fat Guy Sports Talk fantasy league.
Well,
invite only.
Literally what our league is. It's a bunch of fat guys. So
fuck it, YOLO.
Most leagues a bunch of fat guys.
More losses. Demir Bird, wide receiver. They lost Pharaoh Cooper, wide receiver. He was a definite boom or bust pick that is more bust than boom. Now, their quarterback and offensive line situation has been so rough the past few years outside of Kyler Murray. So Pharaoh Cooper may still very well boom with the Panthers, but he's shown too much bust so far. He was outstanding. I thought he was going to be fantastic coming out of college. Tight end Charles Clay is gone. A.Q. Shipley is gone. Rodney Gunter is gone. Joe Walker is gone. And Brooks Reed is gone. Linebacker, defensive end, offensive lineman in reverse order. Brooks Reed, the most noticeable name. He's another – we were just talking about injury-prone guys. Brooks Reed is another super injury-prone linebacker, has been his whole career. But when he has been healthy, he's been solid. What they've gained, they brought in Devondre Campbell, linebacker. Kenyon Drake got the transition tag, and he signed it, so he's staying with the Cardinals. Larry Fitzgerald re-signed. Marcus Gilbert re-signed. DeAndre Hopkins picked up in the trade, which is going to make Kyler Murray dangerous next year.
Kyler Murray already dangerous.
He was dangerous, and now you got in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Not only are you going to see production on Larry Fitzgerald, but you're going to see increased numbers throughout that whole offense, which I think is going to be great. And I've always really liked Kenyon Drake as a running back, and he's going to get another time to shine this year.
Yeah.
I was telling people last year, grab Kenyon Drake if he's available in fantasy, and he worked out for people. So, yay. Devin Kennard, linebacker, they brought in, and Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle, is a huge signing for them. I really like a lot of what they did in free agency, particularly DeAndre Hopkins. I think they won free agency.
They swindled the Texans.
They did. They really did.
It doesn't help that Bill O'Brien had a
need.
terrible, terrible relationship with Hopkins.
Oh,
Like, that did not help, and he wanted
No, it
out.
doesn't. He did. Ultimately, and I don't blame Hopkins for it. If you're not going to vibe with your coach, who's also your general manager, you try to find a way out, and he got out, so good for him.
And that's going to give them the best shot they ever had right now to give Fitzgerald a ring.
I agree. I think there's still another year out, but I think Fitzgerald will be there. I don't think
he's
he's
at least stick
retiring.
around 2 more years.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think he's not productive enough to be an elite receiver, obviously, but heart alone is going to put that guy in the top 3, I think, on any team in the league. But going to their draft, 8th pick in the first round, they drafted Isaiah Simmons, who I think is one of the best players in this draft. He's so versatile. He's an outstanding linebacker. 8th pick in the 3rd round, Josh Jones, tackle out of Houston. I love him. 8th pick in the 4th round, defensive tackle out of Utah, Leki Fautu. I love him. 25th pick in the 4th round, Rashard Lawrence, defensive tackle out of LSU. I think he's going to provide solid depth. 23rd pick in the 6th round, Evan Weaver, linebacker out of California. And then 8th pick in the 7th round, Eno Benjamin, running back out of Arizona State. What do you think, Tyler?
Honestly, Isaiah Simmons, he's going to be your Da Vinci. He is your Renaissance man. He is going to do everything on that defense and then some. And he is going to terrorize other teams. And I love it. Then they went big guys. All of theirs until they're running back. Yeah, all linebackers or linemen. They did not go for another wide receiver, which it is a need, but they didn't have a lot of picks to go for. So I think they just went for what's best out there. And it was a pretty solid pick. Honestly, if they didn't draft anyone but Isaiah Simmons, this is a solid draft right here. I love him.
yeah, I agree. I think
this
this.
but yeah, I still think that would have been a solid draft.
Yeah, this was, I think, one of the better drafts in this division. Isaiah Simmons, he's physically a freak. He's literally, like you said, going to do everything on that defense. That defense just got a lot better with signing him. Eno Benjamin, though, he's a sleeper. He didn't test good. I think he's going to have ability to come in and maybe not start right away, but provide some good production. He's got great balance, and he knows how to get yards after contact. The only problem, he might not be a good receiving back, but that's a name that you might want to look out for. As
I don't think we're going to see much of him, honestly. I get the appeal, but
for a team that's needing running backs,
I mean, but you have Kenyon Drake. I don't think when you look at Eno Benjamin, I don't see a split carry there, unless he does come out and he hits those, and the thing about Eno Benjamin that gives him a shot in this league is he's a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
Eno Benjamin works his ass off.
Yes.
And that is going to make him have a chance. It's just, I don't know if he has the talent to succeed and be a split.
He's going to be the low end of a tandem.
If he works hard, he could be a Fred Jackson type player, in my opinion.
Okay.
If he can work his ass off to get to that point.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to come out and be a big star, but he has the potential to provide some valuable production for that offense and provide Kyler Murray with another weapon. This team could surprise people this year. They could very well be fighting for a wild card spot. Come the last few weeks of this season.
The NFC West is a tough division to forecast because you have two elite teams in the 49ers and Seahawks. I know you don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's as bad as people are giving him the hate for.
Oh, he's not as bad.
I think
but
he's still
not
a
as
Pro
good.
Bowl quarterback. I think he still has some work to do to get to the elite level, obviously. But I think he's a perennial Pro Bowl quarterback, in my opinion.
That
the guy has shown
carries that team,
outstanding, and it is, and that's the thing, is that Garoppolo doesn't need to be elite.
Right.
He just needs to be okay.
He needs to not lose the game.
Yeah, but against also you're talking about a Kansas City team that is disgustingly dangerous. So
True.
like you're asking a lot of Jimmy G in that game, but at the same time, like if you want to be that elite quarterback, you need to shine in that game.
Exactly.
And he didn't. I still think he can get there. I just think he has a lot of work to be able to get there. And also, I mean, when your best receiver is a guy that's on the verge of retirement, it's not doing much to really boost him in that position. You still have that tight end there, Kittle. He's pretty good.
He's decent.
But I think the 49ers are still disgustingly dangerous. You can
the
never
Niners
count out
take
the
that
Seahawks.
Division, I think.
You can't cut out the Seahawks.
You're
Pete
right.
Carroll's too good of a coach. I mean, yeah, they're probably going to be 9-7 because they have a little bit of rebuilding to do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't count them out. You've got a Rams team that's
you can't
deceptively
count any of
dangerous.
these teams out.
No, and you have a really up-and-coming Cardinals team.
And think about this. In the last 12 years, even 11 years, every one of these teams have been in the Super Bowl.
Yep. The NFC West has been dangerous. I
I'll
think
put
you're
this out
looking
there.
at a new NFC South in the NFC West, where I mean is every year there's a new division winner. You have the 49ers who, now granted, traditionally teams that lose in the Super Bowl regress huge the next year. But based off of talent last year and what they've done, on paper, I would be super confident in the 49ers because you have the 49ers and then you have everybody else in that division, but everybody else in that division is still very good. You know, if that makes sense. Like the other three teams could all compete for a wild card spot, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got it.
I think this is one of the divisions where everybody in this division is scary. There's not one team that you're going to look at on your schedule and be like, this is a pushover. Every team can beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a hard division. But with that being the NFC West or the draft, I do have something new I want to bring here for you guys. I have a couple pieces of trivia. Not a game, but just something you guys can try and figure out. First one I want to look at here for you guys. With everything going on in the world, I figured this would be appropriate. Who was the first African-American to play in the NFL, in the modern NFL, which is after World War II?
Modern NFL?
After World War II, who was the first African-American player to sign a contract in the NFL?
God dang
I don't know, so I'm
I've
Googling
known
it.
this too.
I don't know, so I'm Googling it.
Hint for Aaron, he was looked at by Hallis, but that was before integration.
Did he sign with Chicago Cardinals?
No.
I was wrong.
Nope, he went to the Hollywood Bears, and then once he could get on, he went to the Los Angeles Rams. His name, Kenneth Washington.
Okay.
Also known as Kenny Washington.
Okay.
Another one that I wanted to do today.
I remember they were banned in the NFL in 1934.
Yeah. Another piece. The other one I saw today that I wanted to go over is this man is the shortest player in NBA history to average over 10 rebounds a season.
Oh shit!
10 rebounds.
Muggsy Bogues.
This is the shortest person at 6'3".
Oh, not Muggsy Bogues.
In NBA history to average 10 rebounds or more in a season.
Is that Russell Westbrook?
Yes.
Is it?
He has done
that
it
makes sense.
3
that dude
times
is
in a row. For the last 3 years, he has done it. So,
Russell Westbrook, in my opinion, is the only player I can think of in NBA history that you could put literally anybody with and they're going to the playoffs. Because the dude does everything on that team.
Not LeBron James.
Yeah,
no, like 7 Cavaliers.
Okay, I'll give you that. But like Westbrook is like nuts, man. He's super quick. He's got good shooting. He can drive the hole. He can pass the ball. He can rebound as a point guard. I don't know what. Like,
he's a Swiss Army knife.
I mean, he can play better defense, but
his defense is really good too. I mean, he's a great player.
He can play better defense, is what I'm saying.
He needs to have better players around. He went to the wrong team. He's not good on the. He's good on the Rockets, but they're not going to win.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
see,
mean, we know,
the
like,
best
my
chance they had
basketball
to
is
win is
my
back when
sport's
they had
football.
KD and Harden. I mean, that was the best chance they had. Westbrook's not going to win a championship. I don't see it.
No.
Not in the near future unless he moves teams again.
He's going to be one of those guys where if he's going to win a championship, it's going to be late in his career after he's gotten some humility.
He's going to win a Gary Payton ring. That's what he's going to
Yep.
win.
But
all right, guys, this is another week of Fat Guy Sports Talk. Again, I am Tyler.
I'm Aaron.
I'm TJ.
You guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Felicia.